Welcome back. Joining me now is Robert Hendriks, and he is the U.S. spokesperson for Jehovah's Witness. And today we're going to talk about a subject that's really, I think, very important and all too prevalent right now, and that is cyberbullying. So tell us a little bit, Robert, about what you see as the problem with cyberbullying right now.
I think what we see is what everybody sees, that it is an issue. The statistics show that some 1 in 4 to 1 in 5 children, between 12 and 19, have in the past year been dealing with some kind of bullying. Cyberbullying is faceless, so it has become even more prevalent and more vitriolic. And it's affecting our kids. It's affecting not only Jehovah's Witness families, it's affecting families all over the Lowcountry and all over the world. And really, when you come to think about it, the targets of bullying are typically those that kids that may not be viewed as, mainstream, perhaps, or maybe viewed as a little different. And so with Jehovah's Witness children, our children are trying to be different. They're trying not to just follow the crowd. They're trying to make moral decisions, and they're trying to be in subjection to the authorities at school. And with that, sometimes with that comes a disproportionate amount of bullying. And so we've provided the resources for not just our children, but for all. And we're really concerned about this topic.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, because if a kid is getting bullied, oftentimes they're very afraid to speak out because they think that's going to make things even worse. So what is the conversation that you're having with children and their parents so that they know that there is a safe place to actually talk about what's happening to them?
Well, you've really hit on the key. When somebody is cyberbullied, they're not blaming the bully. They're not blaming the teacher. They're not blaming their parent. They're blaming themselves. That's part of the bullying. It makes you feel less than what you really are. It lowers your self-esteem. You feel like you're the problem. You're the ugly one. You're the dumb one, if you will. That's the way you're feeling about yourself, none of which is true. And so what parents need to do is start this conversation early. If 1 in 4 are going to be affected by this, then that means in a class of 30, it's 6 to 8 children. Your child is going to be affected. And so start that conversation, and we have resources to do that.
Well, let's talk then a little bit about those resources. Let's go into some detail of what you do have to offer to help combat this situation.
Well, on jw.org, you can put in bullying in the search field, and you'll find a host of videos. You'll find a host of worksheets and also writings on the topic. And it's very important that you share these with your child. For example, we have a whiteboard, Beat a Bully Without Using Your Fists. Great resource for parents to say, hey, sit down. Let's just watch this for a moment. And what that does is it defines what bullying is. It also talks about some of the ways that you can see the challenge and prepare for it and then deal with it when it's happening. What that does for a child is it opens up the conversation with an adult, with a mentor. And that makes it easier for them to then come to you when there is a problem, or it makes it easier for you as a parent or a mentor to say, how are things going? Have you been experiencing this? Does that look familiar? All of which are wonderful ways to open up that line of communication, and so that it doesn't simmer inside a child and they nurture these bad feelings that end up perhaps even causing them to have self-harm or feelings of self-pity.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about maybe some prevention, though, as well, because, it's easy for bullies to be faceless and anonymous in a cyberspace. What can we do as parents and even as kids to safeguard ourselves before we even get into that possibility?
I think, first of all, children need to understand, teenagers need to understand, and parents need to understand what bullying is. We have a worksheet, How to Silence a Cyberbully. And that worksheet on jw.org, you can download it, and it will define what's happening to you. Is it really bullying? And here's why that's important to define it. Because criticism is not bullying. Being angry at somebody and lashing out at somebody is not necessarily bullying. And if a child can learn what that is and how to deal with that, those are lifelong skills that they take into the workplace, that they take to college, wherever they go in their life, that they take into their families. And so that's the key, really, in understanding of what bullying is, and then having a plan, and that worksheet will help them to have that plan, and what to do if I'm bullied, so that they're proactively thinking about it, and it becomes, instead of something that they're wondering, what should I do? They already have a plan. They put the plan in place when it happens, and there's communication that's happening with the parent immediately.
Well, Robert, thank you so much for being here today to talk about this important topic, and thank you for having the resources for us.
You're very welcome.
Much more to come after a quick break. Don't go away.